What defines greatness in the NFL? Is it sheer talent, raw physical ability, or the relentless determination to prove everyone wrong? For Josh Allen, it's all of the above. Imagine growing up in Firebaugh, California, a town with a population barely big enough to fill a stadium, where the only fields most kids worked on were cotton fields. Football dreams didn't stretch far beyond Friday nights, and college scouts didn't roam the dirt roads of this forgotten farming town. Yet, from this unlikely list of places emerged one of the most electrifying quarterbacks the league has ever seen. Josh Allen's journey wasn't just improbable, it was almost impossible. Overlooked by colleges, ignored by recruiters, and dismissed as a long shot, Allen wasn't just fighting the odds, he was shattering them. A zero-star recruit who started at a junior college no one noticed, Josh didn't just dream of the NFL, he clawed his way toward it. Every rejection only fueled his fire, and every setback became another step in his journey to greatness. Today, Josh Allen isn't just the face of the Buffalo Bills, he's the embodiment of what it means to defy expectations. From Firebaugh's fields to the NFL's brightest lights, he transformed himself from an unpolished prospect to one of the most feared quarterbacks in the game. But how did he do it? How did a kid no one believed in become the cornerstone of a franchise chasing glory? This is more than just a story about football. This is the story of grit, heart, and an unrelenting belief in the impossible. This is the story of Josh Allen, a quarterback who turned doubters into believers, setbacks into stepping stones, and a small-town dream into FL greatness. Josh Allen's story begins in the unlikeliest of places, Firebaugh, California, a small farming town tucked away in the heart of the San Joaquin Valley. With a population of barely 8,000, Firebaugh is a place where dreams are often confined to the horizon, as vast and unreachable as the fields that surround it. Known more for its cotton farms and irrigation systems than for sports, Firebaugh was an unlikely birthplace for an NFL star. Yet it was here, amidst the heat and hard labor of rural life, that Josh Allen's resilience and work ethic were born. The Allen family farm was the center of Josh's childhood. His father, Joel, would wake up before sunrise and return home well after dark, working tirelessly to provide for his family. On most days, Josh, his siblings, and his parents were out in the fields, moving irrigation pipes under the scorching California sun, pulling weeds from endless rows of cotton, or repairing farm equipment. It wasn't easy work, it was grueling, backbreaking, and thankless. Yet to Josh, it wasn't a chore, it was a lesson. Watching his father's determination taught him that success only comes through relentless effort. Seeing my dad work his tail off to provide for our family made me realize what it means to give everything you've got, Josh once said. If I can be half the man he is, I'll be okay. But the farm wasn't the only place Josh's character was forged. When the day's farm work was done, he'd head to his mother Lavon's restaurant, the farmer's daughter, to lend a hand. Whether it was washing dishes or taking out the trash, Josh didn't shy away from the work. It was here that he developed a sense of humility, of never being above any task, no matter how small. For most teenagers, this might have been a stifling existence. For Josh, it was the foundation of a relentless work ethic that would define his journey. Sports became Josh's escape and passion. He played everything: baseball, basketball, swimming, but it was football that truly captured his heart. Even as a child, his arm strength was the stuff of local legend. His father recalls a young Josh standing at the edge of a field and launching footballs that seemed to defy gravity. You could just tell, Joel said, that there was something special about him. But Firebaugh High School was no athletic powerhouse. With limited facilities and a struggling football program, it wasn't a place that drew the attention of college scouts. For Josh, the road to success was never going to be straightforward. By his junior year, Josh had earned the starting quarterback position, but he was still far from the polished player we see today. Standing just over 6 feet tall and weighing less than 200 pounds, he was gangly and awkward, a raw athlete with boundless energy but limited refinement. Yet, even then, his determination was unmatched. On Friday nights, Josh didn't just play football, he carried his team. Firebaugh High was a small, underfunded program that had long been an afterthought in the region. But with Josh under center, They began winning games they had no business winning. That year, they finished with a 7-3 record, and for the first time in over a decade, they defeated their biggest rival, Mendota High. The town rallied behind their young quarterback, packing the stands for every game, knowing that as long as Josh was on the field, they had a chance. His senior year was even more remarkable. Josh threw for over 3,000 yards and 33 touchdowns, leading Firebaugh to its best season in school history. He was the heart and soul of the team, inspiring his teammates to play beyond their limits. People who had never attended a game before now flocked to see the skinny kid with the rocket arm. Firebaugh had never had a star like Josh Allen, and the town began to believe that maybe, just maybe, he could be the one to break through. But when the season ended, the phone didn't ring. No scholarship offers came from Division I schools. His dream school, Fresno State, dismissed him outright, citing his lack of size and refinement. It was a crushing blow. For someone who had given everything to his team and his town, the rejection felt personal. Josh didn't sulk though. He went to work. He sent emails to every college coach he could think of, attaching highlight reels and practically begging for a chance to prove himself. Most of the emails went unanswered. The silence was deafening, but it didn't break him. Rejection, after all, was nothing new to Josh Allen. He'd spent his whole life being underestimated. Whether it was on the farm, at the restaurant, or on the football field, he had learned that hard work could overcome almost anything. They told me I wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't accurate enough, Josh would later recall. But I knew that if I kept working, someone would see what I could do. Firebaugh had given Josh more than a place to grow up. It had given him grit. It had taught him to push forward when no one believed in him. It had shown him that greatness wasn't given. It was earned through blood, sweat, and tears. As he looked out over the cotton fields where he'd spent so many hours, Josh didn't see limitations. He saw a challenge, and for him, there was no greater motivation. When Josh Allen graduated high school, his football dreams seemed like they might end before they even began. Despite throwing for over 3,000 yards and leading Firebaugh High to its best season in history, he had no Division I scholarship offers. The rejection stung deeply. Fresno State, the school he had idolized growing up, flatly told him he wasn't good enough. Too small, too raw, they said. For a kid who had carried an entire community's hopes on his shoulders, it felt like a betrayal. But Josh Allen wasn't one to give up. While others might have let rejection define their path, Josh chose a different route. He went back to work, refusing to believe that his journey was over. His parents and coaches encouraged him to keep pushing, and Josh, ever the optimist, clung to one thing: his belief in himself. His lifeline came in the form of Ernie Rodriguez, the offensive coordinator at Reedley College, a junior college located just over an hour from Firebaugh. Rodriguez wasn't looking for a superstar. He was simply looking for someone with potential. When he saw Josh Allen, he saw raw talent and something more: determination that couldn't be measured by stats or size. This kid has something, Rodriguez thought. But even at Reedley, success wasn't immediate. Josh began the season on the bench, watching and waiting for his chance. It was humbling, a reminder of how far he still had to go. He spent hours in the weight room, transforming his body, growing into his 6'5" frame. On the practice field, he pushed himself to be better, working tirelessly to hone his mechanics and refine his decision-making. He wasn't just trying to earn a starting spot, he was trying to prove he belonged. When his opportunity finally came in the fourth game of the season, Josh Allen seized it. In his first start, he scored 4 rushing touchdowns, announcing himself as not just a quarterback, but a game changer. From that point on, he was unstoppable. He finished the season with 26 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. Reedley went 10-1, and Josh Allen became the driving force behind their success. It wasn't just his stats that stood out, it was his presence. He had grown into a commanding figure on the field, capable of making throws that defied logic and leading his team with an infectious energy. His confidence was contagious. Reedley's coaches knew they had something special, But the bigger question loomed. Would anyone else see it? Josh didn't wait for opportunity to knock. He sent emails to every Division I coach he could find. Over 1,000 messages in total. He included his game film and begged for a chance. For months, there was silence. Most coaches didn't even bother to reply. But Josh didn't stop. He believed that someone somewhere would take notice. Finally, 2 schools responded: Eastern Michigan and Wyoming. The offers were far from ideal. Eastern Michigan pulled their offer when they found out Josh had visited Wyoming, leaving him with only one option. Wyoming hadn't even been scouting Josh initially. They were there to watch one of his teammates. But when they saw Josh throw, they couldn't look away. His arm strength was undeniable, and his competitive fire was impossible to ignore. Wyoming's head coach, Craig Bohl, traveled to Firebaugh to meet the Allen family. Sitting in the living room of their modest farmhouse, Bohl looked Josh in the eye and told him, "You're going to be the face of our program. You're the quarterback we want to build around." It was a moment of validation, one that Josh and his family would never forget. The road to this point had been grueling, filled with moments of doubt and frustration. But as Josh packed his bags and prepared to leave for Laramie, Wyoming, he carried with him the lessons of Firebaugh and Reedley: grit, humility, and an unshakable belief in himself. He knew the journey was far from over. He wasn't just out to prove others wrong, he was out to prove himself right. Josh Allen arrived at Wyoming as an unknown, a long shot, a zero-star recruit from a town no one had heard of. But by the time he left, he would be on the radar of NFL scouts and sports analysts everywhere. He had one goal: to show the world what Firebaugh and Reedley already knew, that he was destined for greatness. Laramie, Wyoming wasn't exactly a football mecca, but for Josh Allen, it represented hope, a chance to prove he belonged at the Division I level. The University of Wyoming wasn't a prestigious program. It wasn't even the school's first choice to recruit him. Josh arrived as an afterthought, a fallback option after other prospects turned them down. But to Josh, it didn't matter. For the first time, someone had said yes, and he wasn't going to waste the opportunity. The transition wasn't smooth. Wyoming's facilities and competition were a step up from junior college, and the expectations were exponentially higher. Josh had to learn fast. His first season, however, was cut short almost as soon as it began. In just his second game as the starter, Josh scrambled for a big gain and took a hard hit that broke his collarbone. The pain of the injury was nothing compared to the devastation of sitting out the rest of the season. For Josh, it felt like another chapter in his life where, just as things were beginning to turn around, adversity came knocking. But if Firebaugh had taught Josh anything, it was how to work through pain and disappointment. As he recovered, he dove into the playbook, watched hours of film, and prepared his body for a comeback. By the time the 2016 season rolled around, Josh wasn't just ready to play, he was ready to take over. From the very first game of his sophomore year, it was clear Wyoming had found their leader. Josh Allen wasn't just a quarterback, he was a force of nature. At 6'5", with a cannon for an arm and the athleticism to evade defenders, he could extend plays in ways that left coaches and fans in awe. Whether he was hurling 50-yard bombs or bulldozing his way into the end zone, Josh was redefining what a quarterback could do. That year, he accounted for 36 total touchdowns, 28 through the air, 7 on the ground, and even 1 as a receiver. His dual threat ability turned Wyoming's offense into a powerhouse, and he led the team to a Mountain West divisional title. For a program that had struggled for years, Josh was a revelation. Wyoming wasn't just competitive, they were exciting to watch. But it wasn't all perfect. For every jaw-dropping throw, there were moments that reminded everyone just how raw Josh still was. His gunslinger mentality, his willingness to take risks and fit throws into impossibly tight windows, led to costly mistakes. He threw 15 interceptions that season, often trying to do too much. His accuracy was another point of concern. He completed just 56% of his passes, a stat that would haunt him as scouts began evaluating his NFL potential. Still, Josh's name was starting to gain traction. Scouts and analysts began comparing him to NFL legends like John Elway and Brett Favre. players who had a similar mix of arm strength, athleticism, and unrelenting confidence. But with those comparisons came questions. Could he refine his mechanics? Could he improve his accuracy? Could he cut down on turnovers? For every person who saw greatness, there was another who saw a project too risky to bet on. Josh debated declaring for the NFL draft after his breakout sophomore year. He had the raw talent to be a first-round pick, but his father, Joel, and former NFL quarterback Carson Wentz convinced him to stay another year to polish his game. It was a decision that would test Josh in ways he couldn't have anticipated. The 2017 season didn't go as planned. Josh's performance was inconsistent, especially in marquee games. In an early season showdown against Iowa, he completed just 50% of his passes and threw 2 interceptions. Similar struggles followed against Oregon and Hawaii, where Wyoming was overmatched and Josh's mistakes were magnified. Critics began to pile on. Too erratic, they said. Too inaccurate. Josh's draft stock plummeted, but Josh never stopped fighting. In the final stretch of the season, he flipped the script, throwing 10 touchdowns without a single interception in his last 4 games. He capped off his college career with a dominant performance in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, leading Wyoming to victory and earning MVP honors. For Josh, it was a reminder of what he was capable of when everything clicked. As the 2018 NFL draft approached, Josh became one of the most polarizing prospects in recent memory. Scouts couldn't agree on him. Some saw his 56% college completion rate as a red flag that couldn't be ignored. Others pointed to his physical gifts, his size, his arm, his athleticism, and argued that with the right coaching, he could be a superstar. For Josh, it was deja vu. Once again, he was the overlooked kid from Firebaugh, trying to prove he deserved a chance. But this time, he had an entire college career's worth of film to back him up. And just like at every other stage of his life, Josh wasn't going to let the doubts define him. He had faced them before, and he had overcome them. The NFL was next. The 2018 NFL Draft was both the culmination of Josh Allen's improbable rise and the beginning of a new chapter filled with its own uncertainties. For months, his name had been the subject of fierce debate among scouts, analysts, and fans. To some, he was a can't-miss prospect, a 6'5", 237-pound quarterback with a rocket arm, uncanny athleticism, and untapped potential. To others, he was a cautionary tale waiting to happen, a raw talent with questionable accuracy and mechanics. Far from the polished quarterbacks typically chosen at the top of the draft, Josh knew the stakes. His college completion rate, a modest 56%, was a glaring blemish on his resume. Critics called it a sign of inconsistency, a fatal flaw that could doom his NFL career before it even started. Accuracy like that doesn't improve, they said. But Josh had heard it all before. Too small, too raw, too unpolished. Those words had fueled him since high school. And now, standing on the cusp of his NFL dream, he used them as motivation once again. Draft night arrived with all its pageantry and promise. The NFL world gathered in Arlington, Texas, to watch the future of the league take shape. Josh sat with his family, surrounded by the people who had supported him from the dusty fields of Firebaugh to the snow-capped mountains of Wyoming. Despite the nerves and uncertainty, he remained calm, his mind fixed on the journey that had brought him here. The Buffalo Bills had been watching Josh closely. Desperate to find their franchise quarterback after years of mediocrity, they saw in him the potential for greatness. Yet, they were well aware of the risks. Drafting Josh Allen wasn't just about selecting a player. It was a gamble, a leap of faith in a kid from a tiny farm town who had defied the odds every step of the way. With the 7th overall pick, the Bills made their move. They traded up to secure their man, sending a clear message to the football world. Josh Allen was their future. When NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell called his name, Josh rose from his seat, hugged his parents, and made the walk to the stage. The spotlight was blinding, but Josh didn't flinch. With tears in his eyes and a smile on his face, he held up the Bills jersey, the culmination of years of relentless effort and belief. For Buffalo, Josh's arrival was a moment of hope. The franchise had struggled to find consistency at quarterback for nearly 2 decades. Now, they were pinning their future on a player who many believed was more potential than polish. Josh embraced the challenge. In his first press conference as a Buffalo Bill, he said, "I'm going to make them look like the smartest people in the room." But the NFL is a different beast. The speed, complexity, and intensity of the game are unlike anything else. Josh's rookie season was a trial by fire. He was thrust into the starting role early, replacing Nathan Peterman after a disastrous Week 1 performance. From the beginning, it was clear that Josh had a steep learning curve ahead of him. His arm strength was as advertised, but his accuracy issues persisted, and his decision-making was far from refined. There were flashes of brilliance moments that hinted at the player he could become. In his first start, he launched a 57-yard bomb that left fans and analysts marveling at his arm strength. Against the Minnesota Vikings, he hurdled over linebacker Anthony Barr, a play that would become a signature moment in his early career. But for every highlight, there were growing pains. He finished the season with 10 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a completion rate of just 52%. The Bills went 6-10, but 5 of those wins came with Josh under center. Critics were quick to pounce. Some labeled him a bust, pointing to his struggles with accuracy and consistency as proof that he would never reach his potential. Others saw the glimpses of greatness, the raw talent that couldn't be taught. For Josh, it was familiar territory. Once again, he was being doubted, and once again, he resolved to prove everyone wrong. Behind the scenes, Josh was relentless in his pursuit of improvement. He worked tirelessly with the Bills' coaching staff and sought out private quarterback gurus to refine his mechanics. He studied film obsessively, looking for ways to speed up his decision-making and improve his footwork. For Josh, the goal was never just to be good enough, it was to be great. By the end of his rookie year, one thing was clear: Josh Allen wasn't a finished product, but he was a fighter. He had shown the grit and determination that had defined him throughout his life, and he had given the Bills something they hadn't had in years. Hope. The road ahead was uncertain, but for Josh Allen, uncertainty had always been an opportunity to defy expectations. Buffalo's gamble was just beginning to pay off. By the time his rookie season ended, Josh Allen had proven one thing: he had the potential to be special. Yet potential alone isn't enough in the NFL, where raw talent is routinely eclipsed by preparation, precision, and polish. For Josh, the offseason following that first year wasn't just about improvement, it was about transformation. The critics had been loud, pointing to his accuracy issues, his decision-making, and his inconsistency. Josh didn't tune them out. He heard every word, but instead of letting it discourage him, he used it as fuel. The first step in his transformation was addressing the mechanical flaws that had followed him since college. Josh sought out Jordan Palmer, a quarterback guru known for his work with NFL prospects. Palmer wasn't just a coach, he was a problem solver. Together, they broke down Josh's throwing motion to its core, using advanced biomechanics to pinpoint inefficiencies. The results were eye-opening. Palmer noticed that Josh was throwing with his arm instead of generating power from his torso and legs. This flaw not only reduced his accuracy, but also put unnecessary strain on his arm. Using a combination of markerless motion capture technology and meticulous drills, they rebuilt Josh's mechanics from the ground up. The goal was to align his immense physical talent with proper technique. It wasn't about changing who Josh was as a quarterback, Palmer explained. It was about unlocking who he could be. Josh embraced the process with his characteristic work ethic, spending countless hours perfecting the details: foot placement, hip rotation, and release point. He wasn't just practicing, he was reprogramming his body to move in ways it never had before. But mechanics were only part of the puzzle. To thrive in the NFL, Josh needed to refine his mental game. The speed of professional defenses had overwhelmed him at times during his rookie year, leading to rushed decisions and costly mistakes. The Bills' coaching staff, led by offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, took a proactive approach. Daboll designed a system tailored to Josh's strengths, focusing on simplifying reads and leveraging his ability to extend plays. "We didn't want to force Josh into a box," Daboll said. "We wanted to build a box around Josh." Josh also committed himself to film study in a way he never had before. He didn't just watch opposing defenses, he dissected them. He wanted to understand the nuances of every coverage, every blitz package, every disguised scheme. By the time training camp arrived, Josh wasn't just a stronger, more accurate quarterback. He was a smarter one. The 2019 season showed glimpses of progress. Josh's completion rate jumped to nearly 59%, a significant improvement from his rookie season. He threw for 20 touchdowns, rushed for 9 more, and cut his interceptions to 9. The Bills finished with a 10-6 record, securing a playoff spot for the first time since 2017. Though they lost in the wild card round, the game showcased Josh's resilience and competitive spirit. Facing a 16-point deficit against the Houston Texans, he led the Bills on a furious comeback, forcing overtime before falling just short. For Buffalo fans, it was a sign that their young quarterback was starting to figure things out. But Josh wasn't satisfied. The progress was encouraging, but he knew he could be better. That offseason, he doubled down on his training, splitting his time between private sessions with Palmer and in-depth work with Dabble and the Bills staff. The arrival of star wide receiver Stefon Diggs in 2020 added a new dimension to the offense. Diggs' precise route running and ability to make contested catches gave Josh the perfect weapon to elevate his game. What followed in 2020 was nothing short of a breakout. Josh opened the season with back-to-back 300-yard games, setting the tone for what would become a historic year. His newfound accuracy was immediately evident. Passes that had sailed high or wide in the past now hit receivers in stride. His decision-making, once a weakness, became a strength. He didn't just rely on his arm. He used his mind, reading defenses with a confidence that belied his relative inexperience. By the end of the season, Josh had rewritten the Buffalo Bills record books. He threw for over 4,500 yards and 37 touchdowns, completing 69% of his passes. He added 8 rushing touchdowns, showcasing the dual threat ability that made him one of the league's most dangerous players. The Bills finished with a 13-3 record, their best since 1991. And advanced to the FA Championship game for the first time in nearly 3 decades. Though they fell to the Kansas City Chiefs, the season marked a turning point. Josh Allen was no longer a project, he was a star. His transformation wasn't just about numbers, it was about leadership. Teammates marveled at his ability to rally the locker room, to inspire confidence even in the toughest moments. "Josh is the guy you want to go to war with," said wide receiver Cole Beasley. "He never gives up, and that energy spreads to everyone." Critics, once so quick to dismiss him, were forced to reevaluate. Some called his leap from his rookie year to 2021 of the greatest in NFL history. His 70-point leap in passer rating and 17-point improvement in completion percentage were unprecedented. Analysts marveled at how he had silenced every doubt, turning weaknesses into strengths and potential into production. Off the field, Josh's connection to the Buffalo community deepened. Whether it was leading charitable efforts or simply embracing the passion of Bills Mafia, he became more than just the quarterback of the team. He became the face of the franchise. Buffalo hadn't just found a quarterback, they had found a hero. Josh Allen's transformation wasn't the result of a single moment or breakthrough. It was the culmination of years of relentless work, self-belief, and the willingness to embrace every challenge. He had defied the odds once again, not just proving the doubters wrong, but proving himself right. And for Josh, the journey was far from over. By the time the 2020 season ended, Josh Allen was no longer just a quarterback with potential. He was a bona fide NFL superstar. His transformation had been nothing short of extraordinary, but the real test was just beginning. In the NFL, sustaining greatness is far more difficult than achieving it. For Josh, the next 2 years would be about proving that his breakout performance wasn't an anomaly. To truly cement himself among the league's elite, he had to show consistency and an ability to carry his team through the highest highs and the deepest lows. The 2021 season began with immense expectations. The Buffalo Bills, once perennial underdogs, were now Super Bowl contenders. And at the center of it all was Josh. For years, Buffalo had been searching for a franchise quarterback who could lead them to glory, and now they had one. Josh embraced the weight of those expectations, turning the pressure into motivation. His dual threat ability as both a passer and a runner continued to develop, making him one of the most unpredictable and dangerous players in the league. That season was filled with moments that defined his relentless drive and evolving greatness. One game in particular cemented his legacy as a rising superstar. In the wild card round against the New England Patriots, Josh delivered one of the most dominant playoff performances in NFL history. He completed 21 of 25 passes for 308 yards and 5 touchdowns. Even more remarkable, the Bills scored a touchdown on every single offensive drive, except the final kneel down. It was a performance that had never been seen before in postseason history, a flawless display of efficiency and power. For Bills fans, it was a cathartic moment, a statement to the world that Buffalo was no longer a team to be underestimated. Throughout the season, Josh's resilience was tested repeatedly. Injuries to the offensive line and inconsistent performances from some of his key teammates made his job harder. Yet, Josh never let up. In one critical game, he scrambled out of the pocket, evaded multiple defenders, and dove headfirst for a first down, showing not just skill, but an unrelenting determination to win. Plays like that defined his season, not just as a quarterback, but as a leader willing to put everything on the line for his team. His grit inspired his teammates, and his leadership became the glue that held the team together through the ups and downs. The divisional round of the playoffs brought one of the most memorable games in NFL history: the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes went head-to-head in a quarterback duel that left fans in awe. With under 2 minutes left in regulation, Josh led the Bills downfield for a go-ahead touchdown to Gabriel Davis, completing a drive that seemed destined to seal the game. But Mahomes responded with his own heroics, forcing overtime. The Chiefs won the coin toss and scored on their first possession, ending the game without Josh ever getting the ball again. It was a crushing loss, but Josh's performance was legendary: 329 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and countless jaw-dropping plays. The defeat hurt, but it also underscored one undeniable truth: Josh Allen was among the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The pain of that loss fueled Josh as he entered the 2022 season. The Bills were no longer chasing respect. They were chasing a championship. Once again, Josh delivered. Over the course of the season, he threw for over 4,200 yards and 35 touchdowns while rushing for more than 700 yards and 7 additional scores. His ability to extend plays, combined with his uncanny arm strength, made him nearly unstoppable. The season wasn't without challenges. Opposing defenses had grown more complex, throwing every scheme they could at him in an attempt to slow him down. The Bills also faced injuries to key players, forcing Josh to take on even more responsibility. In a pivotal game against the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo trailed by 17 points. With the game slipping away, Josh put the team on his back, delivering pinpoint throws and clutch runs to complete a stunning comeback victory. It wasn't just a win, it was a testament to his ability to carry a franchise in its most desperate moments. Off the field, Josh's connection to the Buffalo community deepened in ways that went beyond football. When tragedy struck the city, Josh was there, offering his support and solidarity to the people who had embraced him as one of their own. In turn, the fans rallied around their quarterback, donating millions of dollars to local charities in his honor. For Josh, it was a deeply personal connection. "This city has given me so much," he said in an emotional interview. "I just want to give back in every way I can." The Bills entered the playoffs with high hopes, but the season ended in disappointment. After a commanding win over the Miami Dolphins in the wild card round, Buffalo fell to the Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional round. Once again, the Super Bowl slipped out of reach, but even in the face of heartbreak, Josh remained steadfast. "It's not about how you fall," he said. "It's about how you get back up." By the end of 2022, Josh Allen had proven that his greatness was no fluke. He had evolved into one of the most dynamic and dependable quarterbacks in the league, a player who could single-handedly change the course of a game. Yet, for all his accomplishments, one goal remained: bringing a Super Bowl championship to Buffalo. It was the one milestone that continued to elude him, but if his journey had taught us anything, It was this Josh Allen thrives on chasing what others believe to be impossible. The question isn't if he can lead the Bills to a championship, it's when. If you've been inspired by Josh Allen's incredible journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more stories that capture the heart of the game. Because stories like Josh's remind us why we love football. It's not just about wins and losses, it's about defying the odds and chasing greatness. Josh Allen's journey is more than a football story. It's a testament to the power of perseverance, hard work, and belief in oneself. From the dusty fields of Firebaugh, California, to the roaring crowds of Buffalo, New York, Josh has shown that where you come from doesn't define where you can go. He wasn't supposed to make it. A zero-star recruit from a town with one stoplight doesn't make it to the NFL. But Josh Allen did. His story is a reminder to every kid overlooked, every athlete doubted, and every dreamer told you can't. Josh's success wasn't handed to him. It was earned through countless hours of work, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief in his ability to overcome. He turned rejection into motivation, flaws into strengths, and doubt into fuel. It's a story we can all learn from, no matter what our field or passion may be. But Josh Allen's legacy is still being written. While his name is already etched in the hearts of Buffalo Bills fans and respected across the NFL, there's one chapter he's yet to complete. A Super Bowl ring would solidify his place among the greats. But Josh's impact transcends trophies. He's become a symbol of hope and resilience, not just for the Bills Mafia, but for every underdog who dreams of defying expectations. What makes Josh's story even more powerful is his connection to the people who have supported him along the way. From his family in Firebaugh, who taught him the value of hard work, to the Buffalo community that embraced him as one of their own, Josh understands that his success is bigger than football. He plays for the city, for his teammates, and for everyone who believes in the impossible. As we look to the future, the question isn't if Josh Allen will deliver a championship to Buffalo, it's when. His unwavering dedication to improvement and his ability to rise to the occasion make it clear that he's destined for greatness. But even if he never lifts the Lombardi Trophy, Josh Allen's story has already left a legacy that transcends the game. So what do you think? Is Josh Allen's best still to come? Will he go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Let us know your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of resilience, redemption, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Because in the world of sports, no story inspires like the one that wasn't supposed to happen, and Josh Allen is living proof of that.